Pow wow wow yippee yo yippee yay! This is powwow number 8, and today we're going to talk about having a little bit of some fun. Talk about the situation of Corona and what happened around the world and financial economics about it. Then we're going to dig right into what's happening with Bitcoin and does it have a great future or not. We're going to talk about new investment strategies that we'd like to implement at SwissBorg and hopefully for you guys. And we're going to talk about as well all the different questions that people have been asking recently, and it's really cool that to get transparency, especially this is the end of the quarter, so it gives you a great thing about what's happening at SwissBorg and answer all questions that you guys have asked. So without further ado, let's dig into my favorite slide when I see my beautiful family all enjoying their different activities with SwissBorg. If you guys want to add anything to this beautiful frame, well, please send it via Telegram or any other social media, and we'll be sure to be adding this to the family board. With that ado, let's get into the fun, the joke of the week. And yes, dedicate to our dear friend, this fun dude from South Park. Okay, why won't many governments such as Italy and France and others embrace Bitcoin? What is the real reason why governments are against Bitcoin or they don't embrace it fully? Well, by looking at this dude, it's because they don't believe in proof of work. No, that's a joke, obviously. But maybe that means that proof of stake has a better chance to be successful within different governments. The buy of the week. You know, this is always a great way to think about who are the people that have changed the past and have changed our world. And another person that took advantage during the plague in Europe and one of the worst, pandemic situation in the world. And again, there's some people that, just die with misery, and other people could fortunately work very well and invent really cool stuff. And this person, try to guess who it is. He's an English physicist and mathematician. He's most famous for the basics of law of gravity, so that's really one of his big things that he does. But not only, people don't forget that actually he's been as well doing something really important about mathematics with calculus, but as well as light and the white light and the particles and how to distribute that. And the great thing about this wonderful English physicist is that he brought a lot to us, right? And more importantly, what he as well really has brought into the society is this code, which makes a lot of sense, and we'll talk about that right after. That truth is ever to be found in simplicity and not in the multiplicity and confusion of things. And that is very much true to every different strategy, and we'll talk about that right after, about the new strategy we're launching. And obviously, this person is Isaac Newton, amazing person, and he is, again, invented so many different things from mathematics to the reflection of telescope to obviously gravity. That's a really important one. But by the way, the Apple thing is probably not that true. It's not really how it happened. Talking about heroes. Let's talk about the heroes of today. Not only the beautiful nurses and doctors that are helping very much, but let's take about the dark side of Corona and what things have been happening. How do we really make sure that confinement is not just a weird thing? Well, again, there's been great research and great statistics that we brought to the table, and if you're playing the game like I am, you staying confined, staying at home, and living with your family, and you're good friends, and inventing that imaginary friend that you could yell on when you're not happy that, like, for example, this is on the table. This is not me. This was Bob. He left it on the table, and I'm really not happy about that. But it's okay. We have to live confined, and the reason comes from these stats is that if you don't shake hands, if you don't meet people, and you play that 75% of the chances, if one person is infected, that will maybe go to like 30 people, by 2.5 people by the end of the month. So that means that the pandemic will not be that big. If you play that half of the time, so you go out, you do shake hands, you cough, you don't wear a mask, you don't respect that 2-meter distance, well, within 30 days, if you do that half of the time, 15 people will get infected. And if you don't play the game at all, okay, well, essentially, out of one person, there's 466 people affected. That's a really, 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 really huge number. And that is the reasons why all these different governments are playing this role and trying to really teach how we should get it, essentially make sure that this pandemic doesn't grow. And it's really important, I think so. Talking about numbers itself, like if you compare from this week to last week we're at roughly 360,000 cases. Now we're over 800, so that's over 100% increase. Obviously, in Europe, it is okay-ish in some way. Like, Italy grown still, 50%. So it's getting contained. Is not exponentially growing as it was from the previous weeks. We see it in the other countries that the spread came after, like Switzerland. You still see like the doubling up. You see that UK obviously is going 4 times more because it went spread after. You're seeing that Asia is totally eradicated. It's like it started there and like they just left the group. They're like, yeah, we done that and we're out. But we're seeing the really crazier spread is in the States, and that is because Trump, maybe in one sense, but as well that the fact that, I think so people are still not aware that this is quite serious over there, and hopefully that will calm down in the next 2 weeks. But overall, numbers are not too crazy, and it looks like we might get out to this, let's say, hopefully before summer. Talking about news of the week, or maybe this is joke of the week, I don't know how to say it, but you probably guys seen this beautiful video. If you haven't, it doesn't matter that much, but it's still cute though. So Vitalik is talking about how, this new world of fiat money, how is printing money, and is not really helping the economy on the long run. That's what we've been saying for a long time. And then what he thinks that the clip is going to be over. Bam! You see the genius himself not singing this time. He learned the lesson that he should not sing again. It's not his thing. He's a great coder, great smart philosopher, great a lot of different things, but he's not good. So he's just lip syncing. So this is good enough. I think so. He made his thing by lip syncing. I think so. That's the best. But great video nevertheless. It really shows that governments be printing money and not in the best interest of people. The thing he doesn't explain, I don't know why he doesn't explain it, is that printing money helps the economy on the short run, maybe not on the long run, but it benefits very low interest rates, and low interest rates enables high net worth individuals to essentially participate in real estate and participate in a lot of different other deals, and it spreads the gap between rich and poor. And this is something he never explains, Vitalik. Not sure if he's aware about that, but I think so. That is one of the main problem as well of zero interest rates, is that you're really benefiting the rich people, because even if you're poor, you cannot essentially leverage your positions on the financial markets. You can't leverage your positions as well on real estate. So you're not going to be participating, and that makes really a gap spread between the rich and the poor, and that's for me probably the saddest thing happening with this startup economy. Going to the news of the week, all the Bitcoin maximalists, I love Bitcoin, so to start for that. But when I was at Davos, the World Economic Forum, it was really interesting to see that ESG, so sustainable goals, is growing and growing, and we really want to make this economic, social governance, get better, and we want this green finance, and activists are really had made their point, right? Greta made her point, and now you saw from that Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, probably one of the biggest financiers in the world, has for his actively managed mandates, quite crazy. He's about to kill out, to shrinking his investment universe of by taking out all the stocks where companies are profiting or using 25% of coal electricity or core energy, sorry, coal energy. And what does that mean? It means that, you know, these investment mandates will be, you know, essentially cleaner in some way, and it'll favor stocks that will be working in a more sustainable way, which is great. But that brings us back to, you know, essentially what Bitcoin is taking. And I'm not against Bitcoin. I'm a big favor of Bitcoin. I love the product. I love the community. And more importantly, I love the philosophy behind it of decentralization, no censorship, and making something decentralized. But you're seeing the flip side, which is that big money, these guys are the biggest. BlackRock is $1 trillion of investments. They're the biggest in the world. You can't compare them to anyone else. If these guys are taking these measures where they don't want coal investments anymore, well, the carbon footprint of Bitcoin is massive. It's one of those great countries, bigger than Switzerland, as big as Denmark, and the total electricity and waste is really massive. Okay, this is as big as different countries. As we know, a lot of mining comes from Georgia, Kazakhstan, comes from as well China, obviously, and a lot of that goes from energy, fossil fuels, comes from coal, it comes from gas. And I know there's Iceland, but that's a small portion which really have this clean green mining. And as you see, this could be a really threatening business model to proof of work, how it's done today. And if tomorrow, for example, Bitcoin will never, if it's not included into the BlackRock of investors or all of the big financiers, that means that Bitcoin might not be the best investments if this not changes, right? So I'm not saying about the fact that proof of work have some limitations from my point of view, and especially the Bitcoin network. But I'm saying the most dangerous is that if the big money doesn't follow the principles of going into the mining industry, that on the long run will not help Bitcoin to be the successful one. And whereas proof of work have shown that there's other disadvantages of proof of work, like such as forks and other things, but we've seen that this obviously does not require as proof of work all this electricity and all this power. So that's a very interesting point that we should really think about in the future, how mining should change and how proof of work, if it remains that it is, it has to some way really reduce the consumption of electrical energy and more importantly of the carbon footprint as well. And another business model that should be reflected on the long run is, I would say, these stable coins, right? USDT, when it was created a few years back, these people were making great amount of money. Like if they had $1 million and they were putting in T-bills, treasury bills, out of a year they were making maybe 2% out of it. These 2% could have been, if that 1 billion of assets, dollars, that would, be 20 million per year, right, of revenue. So it'd be a great way to make money. But what's happening now is that there's T-bills, they might be negative, and that means that the more money that's going to essentially USDT or Paxos or other different stable coins, if they're putting in a bank account, they're actually being charged for that. So their business model is actually the bigger the USDT or these stable coins grow, the more they actually will be losing money. So they have to really rethink how these reserve funds are made. And I don't believe that this, with zero interest rates or negative yields, this is really going to hurt them a lot. And I don't think the main thing is to keep all these dollars into under their mattress either. So longer run, we're going to see that this is going to be quite complicated business model. They'll be struggling. So looking forward to see what's their solutions. The market itself. Well, it's been ranging. It hasn't been doing much for the last few days, actually a week. It's going up and down, but ranging at the pretty much same pace as we could see. this is the new one. So on the short term, we see that, you know, this level has been tested multiple different times. This support barrier, which is at ranging between 5,800 and 6,000. This is really the barrier that has been tested multiple different times in the past, and until we're not, you know, we won't go through that. I think so that we will probably stay within that range, and the resistance right now is really 7,000 as well. That's we tested it multiple times. You know, if we able to break it, then we're gonna go for a fun ride. But those are the real two big channels that right now we're looking towards. Obviously, again, this is still quite correlated to the financial markets. So until we don't have great news there, it doesn't look like we're gonna have a great run on Bitcoin per se. You know, a lot of people are asking, bull market, is it a good time to get in or not, you know, into crypto? I think so. It's really a good time. You know, maybe we're not hitting bottom. We never know what's the bottom. On the long run, we have a great perspective. You know, it might be a rock, you know, quite volatile, but I think so right now we're still at, you know, at valuations that are very comfortable to get in. And obviously, if you're looking on a daily basis, maybe you'll say, oh, but Cyrus, tomorrow I could buy Bitcoin at 6,000, and you'll say I could buy at 5,800. Maybe, but it's always really hard to get in the best moment. So I would definitely, if I was you guys, to get a little bit more into crypto. And I think so, you know, what we have to know as well is that, you know, the markets, we'll have the correlation during the bull run probably. We'll have like a better bull run in the crypto market than in the general market. And, you know, crypto is not being proven lately it's a safe haven, but on the long run, it has a very good diversification part to any portfolio. So what is the best portfolio right now? Some Bitcoin, maybe some ETH, maybe some Chainlink, you know, definitely a big amount of SwissBorg tokens, that's for sure. Still very undervalued, especially at 2 cents. And then, you know, you could get some, you know, if you look into stocks, you know, as I said last week, everything regarding the movie industry, the streaming industry, such as Netflix, very old, interesting regarding video games. This is really great place to have. And if you're more in the long run, there's a lot of energy companies and oil companies that, you know, if you want to invest into oil companies that have been knocked out of minus 60% on Schlumberger and different stuff like that. These are stocks that will recover. I mean, there's just it is what it is. So the energy sector, that would be a good play if you look on the longer run, like 18 months. And yeah, things like that. Everything that goes to remote, like a remote thing, like Zoom or things like that, or Amazon or porn. Porn is definitely I mean, if you have any ability to invest in porn stocks, this is definitely a good moment. People have to be spending a lot of money on that, and video games again. So, okay, this is super exciting. So Marco and the entire investment team. Just to remind, who's Marco? Marco is our CIO. He's responsible of all the investments with SwissBorg. He's had 12 years or more of hedge fund management experience by running his own strategies on indices, but especially on single stocks. Everything was automated. Myself, I've worked for different hedge funds, one of the best one in the world called Fort LP. It's a systematic hedge fund, so we call it Trendfollowing or CTAs. And the idea is that we want to apply the same methodology to crypto. And we've been doing that, but we've now are quite ready and proud about our strategy. Before this is not going to be ready in the Wealth app for very big time, or at least a time. I don't know exactly when, but we won't be able to offer this. But we still want to offer you, you know, what are we doing internally, how are we managing our assets, and going forward, how we're going to offer this to you on the longer run. This past returns do not guarantee future returns. That's something very important, okay, guys? Okay, let's dig into this. Trend following. What is trend following? Trend following is a very interesting way to say that let's get amazing good data from the past, clean it the most possible ways, and then try to see how, by using technical analysis, some AI, how can I really essentially make sure that this consistent trends in the past will be repeated in the future. So on an hourly basis or on a minute basis, depends different time frames, on a daily basis, end of day of for example, data, you look at this data, and essentially what you're doing is that you're maybe using some moving averages, exponential moving averages, MACDs. You could be whatever you want. You could be using breakouts. You could be working on Fibonacci's. You could be working on a lot of different things. We're going to technical analysis, and you try to see what is the future trend. And again, you when you look back on your different strategies, you want to make sure that your window, essentially, the look back is skewed, meaning that the recent past has a bigger influence on the future, because it makes more sense like that. So you're looking at a lot of different time sets in the past, and by doing that, you're trying to see if you should buy or sell. That is pretty much, what people do on all these chartists try to do. This is the same way, but it's systematic, and it's 10 times better. And on the long run, everyone that says they're very good chartist, which does make, I do believe, it doesn't mean that he will build a great performance and a great track record. All of these great YouTubers, what I respect, if you are really good at what you're doing, build a track record and then let people invest in your strategies, and then that'll really show you that you are consistent. And that's the main problem of investment. We get very emotional, and on the long run, it's better that we run this through algorithms than actually ourselves, and we find the best algorithms or the best strategies that make what's us the best. And that's exactly what SwissBorg is about, right? So this is the back tests of what has been doing for the different strategies. So the last 2 years, because the data had to be clean, the ones that in the past was not as clean, so we've been working on this, how we go long and short on Binance. And so if you have been invested in BTC buy and hold for the last 2 years, you essentially lost 33%. Well, now what have you done if you went from long short USDT portfolio, meaning that out of the top 10 cryptos, we're going long and short based on this trend following strategy that tells you, okay, right now this channel is bullish, you buy. This channel is, we're about to have a breakthrough, so we're going to sell it. It's very similar to what I said earlier about the support and the resistance, very similar to that, and making sure that, as Isaac Newton said, make it very simple. It shouldn't be too complicated. This is not the most complicated strategies, but they're consistent. There's few parameters, and they're very robust, and that's why it works on the longer run. So by doing this, well, our Sharpe ratio is amazing. It's over 1. Sharpe ratio is essentially, it is the return divided by the risk-free rate minus the volatility, and essentially performance or that makes over 1. Over 1 is really the best thing that we want to do. It's really Sharpe ratio that are 1 and above. It's really the good ones. 119%, amazing performance. BTC UTSD, so that means that we're only doing this on BTC. As this market is more institutional and there's other players that might have these strategies, doesn't perform as well. There's a higher volatility and the performance is not as good, but it's still greater than obviously just buying and holding. If we look on something that goes quite similar, that is the trend following. So earlier is just a trend following of all different strategies that happened from the last 2 years. And now on this graph, we're essentially looking at only buying. This is only long and only. So we're buying, and then when we see that there's a trend reversal, we sell, but we don't short the market anymore. So it's really a long only strategy. You buy when you're confident, you sell when you're off. It's very similar to what the cyber predictor is about. quite similar to that, but on different time frames. And you see that the performance obviously is not as good because you capture the upside, you never capture the downside, you know, so you're only playing halfway essentially. So it shows that, and on the downside, these trends are very strong. In crypto market, the markets are really like quite, how do you say it? Not schizophrenic, but they're yeah, they're schizophrenic in some way. But they're really, you know, the feeling on the down is just that when it goes down, it just goes down, right? There's no way up, and people are melodramatic. That's what I meant. So we see that performance here is not as good. However, it's still much better than BTC buy and hold, right? You're still making 50% up. So that means 88% better with the whole top 10 long only, and with only BTC you're still making 50% on the upside. And here we see that it's quite similar because essentially the last 2 years, well, you know, it was hard for the altcoins to perform quite well, while Bitcoin had a better performance. So again, this is not going to be offered right away in the Wealth app, but we would love to bring this, you know, as soon as we get, you know, the broker-dealer license, we get security tokens in the app. This will be a great way where you guys could just like put whatever you want, relax, chill, and it will be bumpy. You know, these parts, look at, you know, these parts are never fun. You know, you could have a year or where essentially you're not making money, you're actually losing money. You could have, even on BTUSD, you could see really a bad year. But on overall, you don't time these. The great thing is you don't need to time these. You don't need to actively trade. You just need to let the SwissBorg take over. And this is why we really want to offer this going forward. Big shout out for our lovely HR department, Maya and Rooting. They're actively looking for people in Lausanne, remote, and Toronto. Engineering team, obviously backend guys. We're looking as well for site reliability engineers, test automation engineer as well, operation managers, legal admin assistants, SEO assistants. That's remote as well. Content manager and web developer and ad campaign manager. If you guys have the skill sets, please go on job on our websites. It's very easy to find. You just go on SwissBorg. You go on careers here, and essentially there's all these different jobs. If you know someone who's really good, we will offer you up to 3,000 francs of CHSB if we keep that person. So that's a lot of money. That's a nice airdrop. So please do that. And by the way, I hope you are enjoying the new website. It's really cool. Great job to Tin and Bastien and everyone who has participated in the team. It's been really cool to see that, you know, things are changing, and, you know, we could see yeah, essentially that you know, it's evolving in a really cool way, and I really like it. I really like the, you know, it's gonna get better and better, especially only that thing. This thing is a little bit not working very well, but it's really getting better and better, and we're super proud of that. Our cool video. This is Thierry. My God, amazing job to the rest of the team as well, the video team. This is our last video. It's amazing. I love it. I really love it. I think so. It's super cool. It's about the team and the culture at SwissBorg. It really reflects, you know, what we're doing at SwissBorg, and it's really cool. I really believe it's. So this is the old video. Remember, guys, in the first one back then, not too far from our office, actually. It really talks about decentralization. Talks about why we're here and what we're trying to do. This obviously is Nicolas, the best tech dude in the world, our CTO. And it's really a great video that shows, you know, how human we are. I really like the video. I'm sure you're gonna love it. It's really, really cool. It shows a lot of different people, blockchain on chain and Faraday there, and it's in a lot of different languages. So you guys are gonna enjoy always the multicultural, diversified thing we have within SwissBorg, and that's the best way to represent you guys. So yeah, you'll see very soon. Alex and Kryptonite team are doing amazing job. I mean, again, congratulations. It's been really cool to interview all these amazing people. And now that we're premiering tomorrow, it's going to be a recap of the Bestest season on #1. It's funny how Alex, hey man, look at Alex here. He looks very young. Turning 40 this year though. So really cool, great to that. We're getting close to the big number, to 100,000 guys. As I said last week, we will start tomorrow. This cool game challenge is that you have to guess when we're getting 100,000. If this has already started, I'm great. As I said, you just put the date, hashtag SwissBorg Community App 100K, and with a picture that will be sent as well. And hopefully you'll win that beautiful $100 of Bitcoin. All the questions. Okay. UK. That's the first one. So the Queen just said that it was easy and explicit and straightforward. More seriously, UK, we're about to launch it. Main problem is Onfido. So we work with Onfido for the KYC. And 30% of KYCs are not automatic. So that means that 30% are manually checked, and this is done in India. India right now, it's been quite complicated for people to work efficiently. So that had turned us down already last week. It's getting a little bit better, but not like great. So for that reason, we only started to say we'll launch, we'll have small private launches this week. Right now, we're waiting to get approved in UK for iOS and the Android App Store. But probably by tonight, so by what time you're watching this, in the UK, you'll be able to download it. So HK and everyone, please download it, guys. Oh, just that. So we have 664. We have over $1 million today in on our Wealth app. The volume has decreased a bit because there haven't been any new users, to be honest. The OMS is working amazingly. That's super cool. Number of stakes is a lot, 4 million. We're gonna get to 5 million very soon. Please deposit your CHSB, and I'll tell you why. And the median time onboarding is 8 minutes, which is still good enough. We're hoping less than 10 minutes. So you guys have asked a lot of different questions, and maybe some I forgot to put them on. It's just hard to find on Telegram. If you want me to ask me any questions, please do it directly, because direct messages is the only way. If you put it within the in the Telegram, it's super hard to then find your questions actually. But yeah, thank you very much for everyone. Julian S, GM, HEK, who I'm forgetting here, Dave, a lot of different people that been messaging me different questions. And I always really love the fact that these questions, they're smart questions actually. So CHSB token holders, we are going to incentivize more and more people by holding CHSB, right? Right now we have, if you participate in the ICO, 5,000 or 50,000 CHSB to get premium. But we really want to become a real DEO. And today, the great thing about the CHSB token is that with the community app, we're one of the biggest actually utility token community in the world. And we want to really grow the relationship of governance, because we want to reward people by staking, but we want to as well give them privileges in the governance, because it's our job as a DEO to grow, right? Like myself as a CEO going forward, will that make sense? Probably not. I'm just a token holder like you guys, and we have together obviously to make sure that we're growing, getting better products. We're making sure that our mission, our vision is appreciated by a bigger amount of people, and that we essentially grow as a massive family. And we're still a small tribe, but we're growing that into, hopefully soon a nation. And the SwissBorg nation that we're building all together has to be driven through staking mechanism, and how you are great ambassadors, and how are you really improving our system. So we invite really everyone today to deposit as much as CHSB tokens that you guys have. And I mean, we're right now with the MPC protocol and all our security that is, it's super safe to be on our wealth app and to deposit that. And we want, and we will very soon start to explain you guys what is the SwissBorg nation and how these governance could reward people by staking our CHSB tokens. So definitely do it today. Deposit your CHSB with us. It will be secure, it will be safe. And very soon we'll show you how we want to evolve as a DEO. With that being said, next week we're having a press conference in Switzerland. If any of you guys want to assist to it, you're more than welcome. And at the same time, we're gonna then have a real, not an AMA. I want something much greater than that. We need to have a real a virtual conference where all you guys, all these great token holders, all borgers, we unite to have like this open talk, not like I'm talking, but I'm listening to you guys, and we have this very active talk togethers, and where we could share a lot of great new ideas of what's happening on our roadmap, and how we could take this tribe to this nation. And this is something that it's probably the most exciting thing of the year. I don't want to talk about too much, because I first want to make sure that what's your vision and how we could mingle it together and create the best out of that. Wealth app. So the timing marketing actions. Yeah. So it's always hard to say. I believe that we might by the end of the week have some marketing things done. That's for sure. I mean, that's not for sure. That's hoping. That's our target. And the release dates of France and Italy should be this week as well. So UK, French, and Italy should be this week. So we're really excited about that. And Julian S., I was really happy that, I know your transfers didn't take, it was not instant SEPA, but it still took within a day. So that's still good enough, I would say. Hopefully it will be instantly done, but just have to make sure that in the back end people are as well able to process all the different payments. Once we have with SwissBorg as Bridgewater of the crypto world. I mean, I definitely like Bridgewater. People, if you guys don't know what Bridgewater is one of the biggest asset manager in the world. So they have a lot of hedge fund strategy like Global Macros, Ray Dalio, which is really cool. You always talked about meritocracy, so it's always like, wow, what is this funny that how this guy always talks about meritocracy, but which makes sense to some extent, because performance fees that we have in hedge funds is come from there, and I think so. I like that thing where it's like you don't pay fees until these guys don't make money. However, Ray Dalio and Bridgewater, a lot of funds are 2 and 20, so they have 2% management fees and 20% performance fees. So they eat on both sides. I don't think so. We're going to become like them. We're definitely going to have a lot of different strategies like them. That's for sure. But we're not. I mean, we can't be a hedge fund. I mean, I did that for 10 years. It's just making money for the sake of money. We're much further than that. That's just a product-related company. We are becoming a nation. We're becoming a new financial system. We're envisioning much greater. We're servicing the greater good, not only for pure performance, but for creating a new world. I think so. On the long run, obviously we're merging the off-chain and the on-chain world, and we're creating this new financial world. But with finance, we need as well meaning, and by that, our ecosystem will grow so much with greater ways to empower our governance model, and there's a lot to take from Bridgewater. There's a lot to take from any of these asset managers, but I think so. we could go a further step from that. We have technology. They don't. BlackRock, all these guys, it's finance. You know, they mix it with different products and they create something, you know, okay, but there's no technology behind it. We have blockchain, and we have today the best engineers in the world that's developing the best products. So it's very different, and then our governance is just so much. It's going to be so much cooler. Referendum is just the little start of it. We're going to much get better than that, and I really want to talk about what we're going to do, but I can't because I really want to have your own vision. JM asked about taxes. So that is not on the roadmap, unfortunately, right now. But we're going to have referendums very soon, and we could, you know, offer different themes where what will be the really good tools that you guys want to use. For Switzerland, taxes for crypto is really well done. So I don't know for Spain and other countries. I know that in France you have less taxes. It's like half taxes on capital gains than in regular stocks. But yeah, each country is different. It will be really cool that we could maybe look into that. So referendum, and then see how difficult it is or not to implement. But we'll look into it. Guys, this was really fun again. I hope you really enjoyed the session. We're gonna try to have more and more events. So not only videos, but like more events that work together. I really love doing this with you guys, and I really want to do it in live like that. We could really talk and I get a direct feedback. So guys, love you from the bottom of my heart like always. Please enjoy the wealth app the most as possible, and be great ambassadors talking about everyone and referring everyone and making sure that we grow our network. That's really our mission. So love you very much, guys. Take care and be safe.